Hi everyone, welcome back to House of Tarot. Long time no see, haven't seen you guys in ages, but it's good to kind of be back and touch base. Anyway, so I know I have been away for a little while, so I'm a little bit out of practice, but today I am going to be doing Ravenflowers 2018 Witchy Questions tag. Now, it's not just Ravenflowers this year, it is also Tequilas, or the Lady Grave Dancer, I told you I'm out of practice, as well as Noah Tempestari. So this year they have done it together, and it has been basically like community based. So everybody, lots of different people have submitted their questions, and then their questions were selected by Noah, Tequila and Raven, and then answered either this week or last week in a recent video. Anyway, so I've done the tags every year. I love them. I think they're so cool. I think they're so good to get to know each other and whatever else. Anyway, so this year I thought that I would do them well because I love them, and even though I'm not on YouTube all the time, I love doing these tags, and I have done them previously throughout the years, so I thought, why not do this one as well? So I'm gonna try and get through them a little bit, you know, try to get them, you know, as quick as possible, because I don't want to be here for 500 hours, and I know you guys don't want to be here for 500 hours either. So anyway, let's go. So question number 1 is, what are 3 things you do every day to stay connected to your practice? By the way, I'll put the questions down below for your reference. 3 things that I do every day to stay connected can be really simple things. Usually they're just really simple things. Often they're meditations. I do a lot of like guided meditations for when I'm going to sleep, so like wind downs and things like that. I also do guided meditations. Usually all of my meditating is when I'm in bed and before I go to sleep. So I'll do like guided meditations for wind downs. I'll do guided meditations for like meeting my spirit guides and talking with my spirit guides. I'll do guided meditations for you know, psychic awareness and development and things like that. So that's one. Second one would be probably just, you know, lighting candles, you know, lighting incenses, lighting my Archangel Michael candles, doing like simple smudging with my Palo Santo, or, you know, something like that. And I love my sprays. I love my room sprays. I've got a lot of, let me put that down. I've got my room sprays from Earthly Alchemy that I will often use. So I've got the Love Potion, the Marie Laveau Love Potion. I love this for, while it's a love potion, I love it just to raise the vibration. So I use that to raise vibration. I've got the Autumn Witch's Brew, which is incredible. The Witch's Winter Mist, which is grand. And the newest one that I got from them is the Veil, which was in the Samhain Witch's Chest, and that smells so good. You can really see like an evolution of their products in all the sprays that I have. So anyway, that's one thing that I love to use, and I will probably use them, you know, every day, you know, if not every second day, just intermittently, whenever I feel like it, because they are so good, and they're just really simple ways to do like simple magics. Okay, question number 2 is, I'm sitting right underneath my heater, so I'm actually really warm, so I'm going to take my cardigan. Question number 2 is, when a spell or working fails, what steps do you do to try again or fix it? So for me, it depends on what kind of working or spell it is. I think you kind of have to kind of rank them in like level of importance. So like if a spell that you've done just cause you maybe want just like a little extra boost or something like that didn't work, then maybe, you know, like who cares, move on. Bigger spells and things, you know, if they don't work, you might have to have a look, you know, into a reason as to why they're not working. Is there any blockages or something like that? You could use, you know, like tarot or oracle to figure that out. Or, you know, ask your spirit guides, ask spirit in general, why the spell isn't working. I think you'd probably have I think deep down you'd probably know why the spell isn't working. But if you wanted to try again and fix it, I'd probably try some different things. Maybe try incorporating different things. Maybe try incorporating, you know, times, colors, you know, planetary alignments, things like that. I don't do a lot of that stuff, but if it was a real, you know, down to it and a spell that I really needed to, you know, do or have done wasn't working, I'd probably break it down even further into incorporating some of those things. So question number 3 is, have you ever used an object or ingredient in a spell that would be considered odd or whimsical? Whimsical, probably not. Odd, probably. The oddest thing I'd probably use in my craft is like animal parts, like bones and things like that. You guys know that I love my fox. I've got my fox just here in this little terrarium. This is my fox. So I use my fox a lot, and in spells and things, you know, I use smaller bones, teeth, not only a fox, furs, like pelts, lots of different things. So that's probably the oddest thing that I use in my craft. Question number 4 is, what techniques do you use to generate energy for spellcasting? I'm gonna list a couple of my favorites. So raising energy would be like sound and music. So I've got my singing bowl, love using that. Music, I love like the Norse music, the Norse sound, drumming and things like that. I don't have a drum, I really want a drum, but you know, the sounds of drumming and things like that. And then, you know, incorporating, you know, sound and music, but then also your body as well. So a physical movement and dance and things like that. Another way is gridding. So gridding with crystals, gridding with herbs, gridding with bones. I like to grid a lot with lots of different things, not just crystals. So crystal stones, gridding with herbs, flowers, sticks, things like that, as well as bones. So yeah, I would probably say those are the techniques that I use to kind of generate energy, to raise energy. How do you stay motivated to witch through things or even work or start a grimoire? It can be really hard. It can be so hard. And how do I stay motivated? Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm really not motivated to do anything witchy at all. You guys know I'm a lazy bitch, sorry, lazy witch. And, you know, sometimes you're not. And you can't force it. You can't force it, especially with your grimoire. I've done a whole video on how frustrated I get with grimoires and things like that. And it's something that you can't force. You just have to, when you have that, you know, moment, or that, you know, that day or week or, you know, month or a couple of months even, you know, when you have that time of, you know, magical divine inspiration where you can, you know, do all the witchy things and do all the grimoire work and everything else, go for it. But if you don't, then don't force it. Are there times when you doubt your power or don't feel connected? Always. I'm constantly going through, and you guys will know this, some of my friends on YouTube and things will know this. I always go through times where, you know, I feel a disconnect. And for me, I know what my triggers are. I know that there are triggers in my life that do cause me to experience disconnects. And usually most of the time there's nothing I can really do about those triggers. Again, you can't force it. I don't force it. When I've lost touch, I know I've lost touch. It's a conscious, it's something that I consciously know that's happening to me, and I hate it, and it's frustrating and depressing sometimes, but you can't force it. You just can't force it, and you have to sit in it and let it happen and be out of touch. And because I mean, your perception of being out of touch is probably different than what is actually happening. So you're probably still in touch, but not in a conscious way that you think that you should be in touch, if that makes any sense. How do you build community? Obviously YouTube has been such a huge aspect of community for me over the years. YouTube was probably the very first thing that started my, building of community and my presence and creating friendships and connections in the community. Then that, flows through to Instagram and to Facebook. And now, through House of Tarot, I get to interact with our, with the community in a different way. And that's, one-on-one, which is really super duper and exciting. Little plug there, plug. How do you cope when life just becomes too much and you begin to lose faith in your practice, in what you do, and sometimes even who you are? Now, that's a huge one, and sometimes you can experience those things separately, sometimes you can experience those things simultaneously, and it can be really hard. It can be really hard, it can be really frustrating, like I said, it can be really depressing, really disheartening, really saddening, all of these things that you can feel, and it happens. The last couple of months, as we were kind of coming into autumn and into the beginning of winter, were really hard for me. I was feeling really out of touch with my practice in general, and that was, again, for a number of different reasons. I know what my triggers are, and I was aware of it the whole time. And the thing is, how do you cope is sometimes you just have to sit in it. And, if you practice shadow work, or if you've done anything to do with shadow work, is that that you have to sit in those uncomfortable feelings. And that's what I did, You can't, for me, I can't force myself to witch. I can't force myself to, spell. I can't force myself to craft. I can't force myself to set altars and, sit down and meditate, or, all of these things, because then it doesn't feel organic and it doesn't feel natural to me. That's part of my personality as well. I'm an Aquarius, and we don't like to be forced to do anything. We do things our way and in our own time. So by just sitting in it and letting it happen and just waiting for, the witch to kind of come back is the best way. It is the best way, and you'll find something, that triggers it again and sparks and reignites, and it's just a simple little thing that reignites, and then it's all back to normal, and you're like, oh yeah, cool, I'm here again. Don't know what that was all about, but whatever, I'm here, I'm back. So, it can be extremely difficult. It can be extremely difficult. I know how difficult it can be, but I know how important sometimes those disconnects are as well. So it's a hard thing. Where or what is your favorite magical scenery? I've got a couple that I take for granted as well. I'm very fortunate to live. I live on a peninsula, so I'm surrounded by the seaside and surrounded by the ocean. So I'm very fortunate where I live. I love cliffs, and I love the waves crashing into the cliffs, and that I love that threshold, that magical threshold that is where the sea meets the land, and the interaction of and the exchange of energy that happens there. It's just incredible to me. I don't like the beach. I don't like swimming in the ocean, rarely. I don't like the beach, I don't like the sand, I don't like any of it. It's too hot, I get sunburnt really easily, I hate sand everywhere, and whatever. I have to be in a real random mood to go swimming in the ocean. All of my friends can testify to this. Anyway, but I love the cliffs, and I love, the rock pools, and where waves crashing against cliffs, and, it's windy and cold, and I love that. I love it. So that's probably one of my favorite ones. The other ones, would be, the natural kind of landscapes that are, the Australian bush, and how wild and untamed they can be. I love that energy, that wild energy that is the Australian bush, you know, that scrub. I love rivers, obviously, you know, I think every witch loves a pine forest. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of them in Australia in general, but I'm lucky enough to live near a very small clump of pine forest, which is beautiful and incredible and amazing. So yeah, those will probably be my favorite. How do you handle new friendships how do you handle new friendships that don't know you practice the craft? And the following question is, how do you deal with family that do not accept you being a witch? So I'm going to combine the two of those because I've had similar experiences with both of them and I don't want to repeat myself. My experience with friends and family have been generally the same. You know, it's not something, even though I talk, it's really strange. Even though I broadcast myself through this platform and through lots of different platforms, in my everyday life and in my everyday interactions with people that I'm surrounded by, it's not something that I generally broadcast because it's not something that I have to broadcast. You know, witchcraft spirituality is something that's me, you know. I'm always got, you know, I've got, walk into my space, I've got crystals, books, herbs, you know, shit everywhere that screams spiritual, that screams witchcraft, that, you know, screams that kind of stuff. And, you know, I'll always have, you know, if you open my glove box, I've got a tarot deck in my glove box. I've got a little mojo bag hanging off my steering wheel. Like, it's just these things that kind of are so ingrained in my everyday life and in my everyday being that doesn't necessarily require me to, every person that I meet, hi, my name's Alex, by the way, I practice witchcraft. You know, it's not one of those things. So, you know, if it comes up in conversation, if we're talking about, you know, religion or spirituality or things like that, then obviously I'll put my two cents worth in, based on what my experiences are. But it's not something that is generally ever really brought up in my everyday interaction with people. So, and when it has, I have never really had a problem with it. I've been so fortunate and grateful for not only my friends and family that it's much of a muchness, really. I don't know, that's not the way for everyone, which is really sad, and I'm really sorry that it has to be that way sometimes. Have you ever had a spell backfire on you to the point that it scared you so much that you considered to stop practicing witchcraft? That's really serious. Now, I haven't had a spell. I've had an experience with spirit work that occurred very early on in my craft that did freak me out. And it did make me stop delving into spirit work until, you know, a couple of years ago when I knew that I was more comfortable and more confident and more knowledgeable in working with spirit, basically, with different spirits. So that particular experience didn't make me consider stopping witchcraft altogether. It just stopped me practicing that, you know, section of witchcraft, which is, you know, spirit work, spirit communication, evocation, things like that. Yeah, just freaky shit, you know, just freaky shit. Oh good, my computer's about to die. So let's see if we can get through this. When you first started practicing, when was the moment you stopped depending on others, on books, on websites for guidance, and started following your own intuition and doing what feels right to you? So I feel like everyone, as they're starting out in the craft, they immerse themselves so much in so many different things, which is fantastic and amazing, and I recommend it. Books, blogs, vlogs, YouTube videos, Facebook groups, Instagram pages, everything. I feel like when you're starting out on this craft, you need to immerse yourself in so many of the different resources that are out there, because now there are so many for you to soak in, and you soak as much information in as possible. And that's what I did. And that's what I think most people do, you know, in the first few years of their practice. I can probably safely say now, I've been practicing for a long time. I can probably say, so I'm just trying to do mental maths on how long I've been practicing. A long time, almost maybe 8 or 9 years. But you get to a stage where you just take all of this information, take all this groundwork that you've done, and then start incorporating it and experimenting in different ways. And then, you know, while you never stop learning, while you never stop reading and, you know, immersing yourself in that, you have a different knowledge and you have a different perspective on the new information that you learn based on the knowledge that you have already learned. So, you know, for example, when I pick up a new book or read a blog or whatever, watch a YouTube video, I already have a certain level of understanding because I've done a lot of the groundwork and a lot of the reading and everything and soaked so much in that now I can look at these new resources in a different light, in a different perspective, and then take on that information in different ways. So I would probably say for the last 4 years, I would say was probably when I've started relying more on my intuition. I'm gonna have to quickly grab my charger because I don't think I'm gonna get through these. The next question is, I'm gonna talk to you from here. The next question is, do you wait for karma or do you take karma into your own hands? Now, I feel like this is a very interesting question and a lot of people are going to have very interesting thoughts on what happens. So if you didn't hear me, do you wait for karma or do you take karma into your own hands? Now, this is something, again, that I feel like you learn as you get older, and I think this is just generally in life, is that you choose your battles. And that's probably the best advice that I can give anyone in any walk of life, is choose your battles, because often you exhort, I don't even know if that's the right word, you exhort more energy than you would actually taking karma into your own hands than just letting it happen. So it really is just depending on whether you have the energy or whether you can be bothered. Half the time I can't be bothered. Somebody has to really extremely piss me off or do something really fucking bad to either myself or a family member or, you know, my very close friends, family that I choose, for me to retaliate in a magical sense, because I don't have the energy to do that half the time, because a lot of people don't understand about, you know, taking karma into their own hands when we're talking about curses and things like that, is that it takes an incredible amount of energy to be raised and focused into doing anything that's worth doing. So it is one of those things where you gotta pick your battles. I mean, because seriously, if someone does some petty shit, then you know what, let them do the petty shit and you be the bigger person, and know and trust in the universe and with karma, if you believe in karma, that they're gonna get their shit back when they least expect it and when they most deserve it. So I would say bit of both. Next question is, have you ever been physically attacked by a fellow pagan? I don't think I've ever been physically attacked by anyone. Not a pagan, not anyone. I've been physically attacked by like animals, like chickens and sheep and goats that live at my house, but not pagans, unfortunately. Pagans or witches. This is just a presumption. I don't even know if that's a word as well, a presumption. An assumption? I don't know. But I've been, you know, on YouTube and in the public eye for a very long time, lots of years now. And I'm sure that there has been a witch or a Wiccan or a pagan or something, or some sort of magical practitioner who has, you know, sent some kind of energy my way, whether it be malicious or otherwise, or, you know, intentional or otherwise, or whatever. But it's about, you know, having your wits about you and about having, you know, the steps and the procedures and the wards in place so they don't affect you or touch you or get involved. So, I mean, I'm sure someone's probably sent something towards me over the years, but, you know, I have never even known about it because I have those, you know, checks and those lines of defenses in place. So I'm gonna say no, but probably yes, but that's not a strong yes. It's an assumption, so who knows? Have you ever been accused of something that you didn't do because you practice witchcraft? I don't think so. I don't think I have. I think probably my sisters, when we get into arguments when we were children, when I was younger, and when they were younger, I think I maybe threatened them with casting a curse or casting a spell on them, and then something happened, and then I was accused of, you know, casting a spell on them or whatever. But I don't think in a real life situation have someone accused me of something happening because I practice witchcraft. I don't think so. How do you feel about bringing diversity into your practice from other cultures outside of your own? This is a super duper juicy question, and I could dedicate a whole video to this, but we're already at 25 minutes, so I'm going to try and keep it nice and contained. I have a few different views about this. My general blanket statement view is I feel that it is okay to be eclectic and to bring in certain cultural practices into your craft that aren't necessarily your own. In saying that, there is a disclaimer and there is an in saying that. I believe that there are definitely considerations that one has to take before they adopt certain practices. I personally feel like there are some cultures and there are some practices that I don't feel that I have the place to incorporate into my craft. And that's okay. That's completely fine. That's completely fine for me. And I feel like at the end of the day, it is a hugely personal decision as to whether you choose to incorporate, you know, different cultures, different cultural practices into your own craft. This will be based on so many different things. Obviously, you know, personal standards, personal morals, personal beliefs, obviously your craft itself. I think it's got a lot to do with your intuition. It's got a lot to do with spirit. You know, lots of different things, lots and lots of different things. I think though, for the most part, you know, I don't think that, you know, there is much of a problem doing that, especially in today's society where, you know, we as humans are such, you know, a melding pot of, you know, lots of different cultures and nationalities. I think it should be compulsory for everyone to do the Ancestry.com DNA test, which I did, because I found it to be the most incredibly interesting and incredibly amazing experience. Extremely humbling as well, just to see what your genetic makeup is, you know, and to see what blood runs through your veins. It's an incredibly humbling and incredibly spiritual and magical experience. But I feel like if everybody did it, it would, you know, just be so beneficial. It would break down so many barriers of racism, of prejudice, and so many different things. But it would also, oh fuck. But it would also, oh, sorry, excuse my French as well. But it would also, no, I've completely lost my train of thought. But it would also, by, you know, knowing, you know, what your DNA makeup is and what blood runs through your veins, I think it would give, you know, a lot of people the opportunity to stake claims in certain cultures and certain, you know, spiritual practices from certain cultures because, you know, the blood from that culture, you know, they have ancestors who have most likely walked a similar path or, you know, practiced the particular practice that you want to incorporate. So I think largely, I think it's okay and I think it's fabulous that people can be so eclectic and incorporate so many different things into their craft. I think that there are definitely certain considerations that you have to take into consideration. When obviously choosing the different practices and where they come from and how you will use them and respect them and honor them as they are sacred. Yeah, I know my opinion will probably differ greatly from lots of different things, and this is such a huge topic of discussion in the witchy community, I feel. And in general society as well, just in and around cultural appropriation and whatnot as well. But I think that as long as the practitioner is respectful of, you know, the sacredness of said traditions, of said practices, and has taken into consideration, you know, all the different things, I think, like, it's okay. It's good. Go for it. You do you. And that's all I'm gonna say. But we're down to the very last question now, which is an amazingly incredible, extremely witchy question to finish off this tag. And that is, what is your favorite witchy tool? where do I even begin? I don't even know. I'm probably gonna say that my personal favorite witchy tool is my cauldrons. You can see my cauldrons. I have this cauldron. I think I've done a cauldron show and tell. I've got this little baby cauldron. I've got like I've got 2 little baby ones that are copper, and I've got this big copper mother as well. Anyway, I love my cauldrons because, as you guys know, I'm a lazy witch. The way that I work with my cauldron is exactly what cauldrons are basically used for. I add all of my spell ingredients into the cauldron, set it with my intention, do some hoodoo voodoo, magic, wagic, incantation, energy, charging, all of this stuff, all of the hand movements, and I leave it and walk away and forget about it, and maybe come back to it and do some more of this, and then go away and come back to it, maybe do some more of this, or add another crystal or something, or whatever. It is just such an incredibly amazing, magically awesome magical tool to use in your craft, because there are so many different ways that you can use a cauldron. Literally for making, you know, oils and brews and things like that, for making incenses, loose incenses, but for literally creating your potion. And, you know, your definition of potion is obviously going to vary practice to practice, person to person, practitioner to practitioner. But for me, a potion is simply, you know, the combining of ingredients, and the ingredients can be things from herbs to crystals to trinkets to bones to lots of different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be mixed with water and, you know, boiled on a fire with, you know, bubbling smoke and, you know, all of this stuff. Probably my cauldron, closely followed by my tarot cards. Also, I'm a little bit obsessed with wands, but I don't usually use a lot of wands in my craft. It's just because I love the look of wands. Anyway, I could keep going, and then crystals, and then, you know, we keep going. But then if we want to talk about, you know, like my all-time favorite, like my individual tool would probably be my big motherfucker. My big mother quartz, who is just absolutely amazing and beautiful and gorgeous, and can be used for just so many different things. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, that finishes our that finishes Ravenflowers 2018 Witchy question tag. Thank you very much to everyone in the community who contributed their questions. Thank you so much to Noah, Raven and Tequila, the Lady Grave Dancer, for their time in their live the other day to go through the questions. I loved it. It's so much fun. This is why I love doing these tags. It's so good to be back here on YouTube to say hello. I've got some things coming up that I want to share with you soon, so keep posted for that. Also, I tag you, and I also tag you. So, anyone who's watched this video, please go do it. Please let me know in the comments below that you've done it. Just post a link or just say, yes, I've done a tag, just so I can have a look at it, because I would love to listen to everyone's questions and tags, answers to the tags. But I also want to tag all of my Aussie witches, because I'm missing some of my Aussie witches. I haven't seen them on the YouTube spheres for a little while, so I tag all of my Aussie witches who are down here in the south, and anyone else who's watching this, but mostly my Aussie witches, because I want to hear from you guys and I want to see you guys. Anyway, much love to you all. It's so good to speak to you and to see you again, and I'll see you all very soon. Mwah! Much love, many blessings.